Hello, and welcome to the McTaggart Attack Podcast. I'm Kevin McTaggart. What do I want to talk about in this episode? As I think it's been well documented, I was born in Boston. I am a fan of all of the Boston sports teams. And as a fan of Boston sports teams, as someone who's lived in Boston, I know that Boston is deemed very racist. And it's not just been one person. There are claims by hundreds, bunch of people, lots of celebrities, comedians, sports figures. I think Torrey Hunter made a statement the other day, and then which led the Red Sox to issue a statement. And that was interesting, that they issued a statement Wednesday night, and I thought it was a very interesting statement, and I'm going to read the statement to you for those of you that didn't hear the statement or see the statement that they made. So let me, here we go. I'm going to pull up the statement. Torrey Hunter's experience is real. If you doubt him because you've never heard it yourself, take it from us, it happens. Last year, there were 7 reported incidents at Fenway Park where fans used racial slurs. Those are just the ones we know about. And it's not only players. It happens to the dedicated black employees who work for us on game days. Their uniforms may be different, but their voices and experiences are just as important. We are grateful to everyone who has spoken up and remain committed to using our platform to amplify the many voices who are calling out injustice. There are well-established consequences for fans who use racial slurs and hate speech in our venue, and we know we have more work to do. The small group of fans does not represent who we are, but are rather a reflection of larger systemic issues that as an organization we need to address. True change starts from within, and as we identify how we can do better, please know we are listening, we hear you, and we believe you. Very powerful, interesting, great statement by the Red Sox Wednesday night regarding, these facts. And I like the part where they said the 7 instances, and these are just the ones that were reported to us, meaning there's probably a lot more, but fans are too busy watching the game to go ahead and report, oh hey, racial slur, because people are going to yell whatever they can to players, and if they're a black player, especially in Boston, they're going to yell racial slurs. I wouldn't be surprised if fans yell racial slurs at other fans. Would not surprise me at all if that happens. That probably does happen. I just watched a clip of Michael Wilbon from ESPN, and he told some startling stuff. He said, the only time he's ever been called the N-word was at Boston Garden. And then he tells another story about how he and this other guy, who I assume was black, they were walking, and they ended up in South Boston for some reason. And this white cab driver came up to them, drove up to them, and told them to get in, because I don't know what you guys were thinking, but you shouldn't be here, and drove them out of South Boston, which was probably a good idea on their part. So yeah, Boston is racist. Not all of Boston is racist, but a good portion of Boston is racist. It says that this is a small population, and it probably is a small population. It's not all people from Boston are racist, but it's a problem. And from what I understand, it's worse. It's worse in Boston than anywhere else. Like, I just read another thing where someone, I think it was a Twitter comment, someone was saying, in New York, there's racism, but in Boston, they let you know you're black. And I think that's a very powerful thing to say. And I will say this, like, as a little kid, when I grew up, like, one of the first shows I watched was, like, Different Strokes and, like, Webster. And Different Strokes dealt a lot with this. It dealt a lot with a lot of, like, public issues, like drugs. I think it dealt with racism. And it definitely dealt with race because it was a white guy who was fostering 2 black kids, And how could that not... it was just a remarkable show. And, like, I'm watching this show as a little kid, and I'm understanding that racism isn't cool. And then as a little kid, I'm noticing that, yeah, I've got relatives on my mother's side of the family who are definitely racist. Or were racist. But they're they're dead now. But, yeah, it's just, when a black person comes to the house and they're not very happy about that, that speaks volumes. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I've hated racism. I've hated racists almost my entire life, is what I'm trying to say with this. And I'm related to some of them. And so it doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me that Boston is the racist capital of the world, probably. And I'm seeing all these things about Boston being racist, and I just felt that since I have a podcast and this is coming up, and I'm like, I need to bring this up because, like, I love my Boston sports teams, but I hate the fans of my fellow fans of said Boston sports teams, because some of them are racist. Some of them probably yell racist shit at opposing players, just because they think that's okay because they're on the other team. But you're all human beings who have feelings. So when you're yelling the N-word at a black guy or a black person, it's not good. That's not good. Don't do that. Don't resort to racism level heckling. Okay? You can boo someone, I think. You can boo an opposing player, but don't use racial slurs. I do think that Boston has gotten better with the racism over the years, and I do think it will continue to get better, and I think it's definitely getting better now with the whole George Floyd murder, and how everybody's now, banding together against racism, which is good. And I hope this keeps going. I hope it keeps going like this. This shouldn't be a fad. This needs to be a revolution. This needs to be a thing that we need to do. Is to end racism. And one good way to end racism is to end it in the racist capital of the world, which happens to be Boston, Massachusetts, for fuck's sake. My hometown, that I'm ashamed to say is still full of racist assholes. And that's the bottom line. If you smell what the McTaggart Attack podcast is cooking.